I'm not sure what the song of invitation is, but Brother Rick assures me there is one.
387.
387. I don't want to be the only person up here trying to sing after my lesson this evening. Well, it is good to see everyone here. There's a few of us that weren't able to be out here for different reasons this evening, and but I tell you what, it was really good to hear Brother Rick this morning.
Yes, amen.
I tell you what, he done a great job.
Yes, he did.
He done a great job, and contrary to what he just told you about me, I don't know how many times we could use the word wonderful in my my preaching abilities, but I will tell you this: I will give you the best that I have.
Amen.
I'm hoping that that might be on there. I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't have the voice Rick has, so I may have to have that some. Does everybody hear me pretty good?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All righty. Well, you know, well, you're sitting 3 rows back, Bill, so you should.
I hate to warn anybody anyway.
I'm not touching that one right now, but you know, sometimes in life, inspiration comes in many different forms, and you know, and you have as well, have seen writers and songwriters and different people that maybe say that they had inspiration. Maybe on a songwriter might have been on the back of a bus somewhere, you know, and some of them may be on an elevator and a 2-minute ride up to the top, and just all kinds of strange things that, you know, ideas pop into your head. And, you know, I had a few lessons that I've taught over the years, and a couple of them that I've had in mind that I might even preach here if given the opportunity. But an inspiration, if you will, moment came to me last Sunday. And those that you were here remember that Brother Benny came forth and gave his life to Christ and was baptized.
Yes, Lord.
And you know, and strangely enough, when Brother Harold got up and you know, took his confession and went on how he knew him, and you know, just the thought popped in my head that the work and the prayers that went in to that soul. And I kind of get the impression, I don't know them maybe like you guys maybe do, since I'm not from this area originally. I kind of took it that Harold and Christine have known him all their life,
Yes.
or at least most of their life. So with that being said, that took a long time to nourish and to see that result. A lot of things had to fall into place to make that happen. So, you know, Brother Harold has put in some moments of prayer and laboring with him, and no doubt probably has talked to him probably on more than one occasion about his soul.
Right. Yes.
So, you know, I was glad, obviously, but I'm sure that his Brother Harold's family and Brother Benny's family were certainly glad to see that, as he chose to obey the gospel. So that kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration, getting back to that, about my lesson this evening. And it won't be a lengthy lesson, but I hope that this year, as springtime progresses and summertime goes on, and you're doing things around your place, that what I'm about to speak of will come back in your memory and will help you even maybe with your Christian life and motivate you. And some of my motivation, or really my motivation, some of the scripture that I want to use this evening, and it's found in Matthew 13, starting with verses 1 and down through verses 23. It's a little lengthy, but it kind of helps get the point across what I'm wanting to talk about this evening, and just how simple that the message can be sometimes. In verse 1, it begins here in chapter 13, "And on the same day Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea. And a great multitudes were gathered together to him, so that he got into the boat and sat, that the whole multitude stood on the shore. Then he spake many things to them, parables, saying, Behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places, where did they not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, then they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100, some 60, and some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And his disciples came and said to him, Why do you speak to them in parables? And he answered to them, Because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled, which says, Hearing you will hear, and shall not understand, and seeing you will see, and not perceive. For the hearts of this people have grown dull, their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts, and turn, so that they should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For surely I say to you, that many prophets and righteous men desired to see what you see, and do not see it, and hear what you hear, and do not hear it. Therefore hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom, and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is he who receives the seed by the wayside. But he who received the seed on stony ground, this is he who hears the word, and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures only for a while. For when tribulation and persecution arise, because of the world, immediately he stumbles. Now he who received the seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and cares for this world, and the deceitfulness of the riches choked the word, and he became unfruitful. But he who received the seed on good ground is he that hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit, produces some 100, some 60, and some 30. Now, obviously Christ here is trying to explain to the disciples how that the word is sometimes taken. You know, we don't always, how should I say it, make people understand maybe how or what we're trying to say to them. But you know, I've always tried to tell people in a loving way. And, you know, I when I think of what Brother Harold said last night, or not last night, but last Sunday, I couldn't help to think about the situation that we all have sometimes in a parallel version, like with our own garden, so to speak. You know, every year about this time, we start sowing things in our garden. That is correct, right? And some of us like to start earlier than others. But you know, anyone that's been around me for a long time, or any time for that matter, knows that I really love to garden. And even though that my wife will tell you that, you know, we don't really save any money by gardening, it's something I enjoy to do. Right. And at the end of the year or throughout the year, I take great pride, and we all do, about picking things that we have taken care of, and not only consuming for ourselves, giving to those that we love, or bringing to church, as I see some people do here sometimes. You know, you get some satisfaction in that, and then you know, sharing with others, and so that, you know, it's something I enjoy, I love to do. But you know, I guess the point that I'm trying to get to here, if the world is a garden that we are to sow, and if you were in charge of it, which no doubt that you are in your life, you are in charge of sowing the seed. You know, a lot of us may think, and I'm not necessarily trying to call anybody out here, but I have seen it in my 50 years on this earth, that you know, some people leave a lot of the work to other people when it comes to the church's work.
Right.
But, you know, this is something that is more on an individual basis of what I'm speaking of here. You know, a lot of times people can hide in a church and not do that much, and we know that to be a fact sometimes, I'm sure, from time to time. You know, I will say this, since I have been here in I'm going to say around 5 years, I think that this church does an awesome job of doing things scattered throughout the men and the women. I've actually been to churches before that when we'd have like meals prepared, that the men really had to kind of step in gear there and get it done because maybe the women weren't doing such a good job. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I've seen it happen. So, you know, it's really good that we have that type of work going on here. You know, can we do better? Certainly. As the old saying that I live with at Lowe's, areas of opportunity come up quite a bit in conversation at work. And I'm sure we could probably find some here that we have areas of opportunity. But all in all, I think this church does a great job of working in the kingdom. And we are being rewarded for that. You know, many churches not too far away from here, the numbers are going down. And ours seem to be kind of going up for the most part. And so that's, you know, that's a testament to a few different things. Number one, strong leadership, as Brother Rick spoke of this morning and with our elders. Then there's a lot of people that do different things for the church here. So, you know, that is something that we should be proud of. And should we not let our foot off the gas, so to speak? Always remember that each one of us has a part in this. You know, one question that may seem kind of odd, but, you know, are we sowing the seed correctly? You know, you're probably asking yourself, well, what does that mean exactly? How can you sow the seed correctly or not correctly? Well, you know, if I can just tell you from, you know, my experience in raising a garden, believe it or not, it can be done. You can, if you're sowing beans, and if you plant them, say, too thick, and they start coming up, and basically they choke themselves out. If they don't get enough water, guess what? They don't produce very many beans because you planted them too thick. And so, you know, there's a certain way that things have to be planted. And the same goes with the Word. You know, if we plant the Word of God and we start seeing results with it, and we just have a person or maybe a family come in and they obey the gospel, and then, for example, we just kind of turn our backs on them and never check in on them and just kind of leave them on their own, you know, don't really socialize with them and don't invite them to things or don't hang out with them. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Once you convert somebody, stay with them. Show them that you love them. Keep checks on them. You know, people that are new converts that are not raised in the church, you know, they have a lot to learn.
Yes, they do.
They really do. And, you know, I was lucky, you know, I was raised in the church, so a lot of times I may take it for granted sometimes myself, and many of you many times have family that generations go back in the church. And so it's easy to take it for granted. But people that come from maybe denominations are converted or really from no place at all, so to speak, religious-wise, you know, they need a little bit of cultivating, a little bit of love, a little bit of nurturing, whatever you may call it, to bring them on until they are strong enough to stand on their own in the church, so to speak. So let's not forget those people when they're newly converted.
Right.
You know, gardening is hard work. I think we'd all agree upon that. I've told you before, I love it. But to sit here and tell you that it is something that is easy, I can't do it. There's a lot of things that, and it probably has mostly to do with I'm getting older now, and you know, as I get into say bean picking, for example, you know, I have to take a 5-gallon bucket with me anymore to pick beans because I can't bend over and not hurt when I'm done. And I'm not talking done, I'm talking one roll picking. So, you know, gardening is hard work, and I think we all realize that. But we often need to realize that, you know, gardening in the world for Christianity is too.
Yes, it is.
And not only is it hard work, it's not just a one-day-a-week job.
No, it isn't.
So, you know, I have to say that and anybody that's had a garden in this audience knows that if you have one, if you don't work in it pretty much every day,
That's right.
you really can't expect much out of it at the end of the fall. You might get a little bit here and there, but if you don't take care of it every day, it'll get away from you quick.
Oh, yes.
And so you see the parallel what I'm getting at here. Your Christian life, it can't be just a one-day thing for you, and you expect to get anything out of it. Not only for yourself, but for winning souls to Christ, which sometimes I wonder in some places if that's the job that people are really busy doing. You know, yes, we've got our hands full saving ourselves and trying to save our family. I'll be the first to tell you, it's a tough job. It sure is. It's a tough job, and I'm not exactly a person that can stand up there and brag the job I've done over the years, maybe in some of my family. But that don't relieve us from the job from trying. You know, you just have to stay after it every day. You can't give up on it.
That's right.
You just can't give up on it. You know, just to tell you a real quick story, and I'll bring this to an end this evening. Here about 5 or 6 years ago, I was at work and I stepped on a nail, and I don't know if probably some of you knew me back then, but I stepped on a nail, and I was in the hospital for a while, and then I come home. I forget how long I was off of work, but I want to say 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. So I don't need to tell you that was right after I put my garden out, and that happened. And to be honest with you, I would go down and check on it every once in a while to see if my daughter and my wife were doing a very good job with it. So I won't elaborate too much on that, except that when I was able to actually walk into the garden, I seen weeds that had stalks on them that was big around as my corn stalks. And I didn't even know they looked like that in their mature form. So I've never seen a weed that big in my garden. Matter of fact, I was afraid to pull it up. I thought it was something that I planted and forgot about. But anyway, you know, that's funny now, but I think we did get a little something out of it. But the point being is that, you know, it takes an effort, whether it be your garden
It does.
that you're raising here in your backyard,
That's it.
or if it's something that we're trying to draw a parallel here to in your Christian life. So I hope that this year while we're out and we're working in our garden, that some of these things come to mind. Now, there's a lot of other things that come into play in your Christian life than just the few that I brought in. But it does, if you don't get anything out of it at all, but just this one point, that it's an everyday battle.
That's right.
Every day. Every day. And if you think it's any different than that, friends, that you're going to be disappointed.
Yes, yes.
You know, I hear Brother David and Brother Harold come up and preach and talk. And, you know, they try to get people to do the right thing. They do. No matter what it may be in your life that may be you don't feel that is maybe the best you can be. Let's get it straightened up. Let's get it straightened up. Don't let sin get into your life and choke out the good work that you've done. You know, so many people rely on, there's a product out, and I'm sure some of us know what it is. I even use it myself because of my situation trying to pick weeds as much as I used to. There's a product called Cream. I'm sure we're all familiar with it. So you can use it in your flower beds, you can use it in your garden, and it helps keep the weeds down. And it's a good product. It does its job. But, you know, there's a reason it comes in small jugs. You know, they don't expect you to buy a 5-gallon bucket of it and use it on your whole garden.
Right.
You know, there's some work that you have to do. This is just something to help you.
Yes.
So don't be guilty in your life of using that to do all the work for you, or someone else to do the work for you in the church, or maybe in your family even. It takes effort from each and every one of us, and I include myself. You know, I've told you I've made mistakes in my life, and I just hope that the Lord spares me, that I can undo some of them maybe. It's just Christian work is a full-time job.
Yes, it is.
It's a full-time job for all your life, not just a short time. It really is. So I hope as we get ready to sing the song of invitation that's been announced, that you think seriously about that. And if you're here this evening in need of the prayers of the brothers and the sisters here at this congregation to help you in your life to strengthen yourself, that way you can become a better sower of the seed, this would be a good chance for you to come forward and ask them to pray for you. But most importantly, if there's one here this evening that has never chose to obey his word, like Brother Benny last Sunday, don't put it off any longer.
That's right.
Don't put it off any longer. You know, the news and the television is full of people that die every day.
Yes.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. Almost every week, if it ain't somebody I know, it's somebody I know that they know. So don't put it off. Don't put it off while we stand and sing the song that's been announced.